Hi, hello, welcome back to the channel. So today we are changing the water pump on an E46 325i. So the procedure will be the same for 328, 330, E46 model. It'll also be the same for like an E36. Similarly, some things are different, some things will be similar. It'll also be the same for 5 Series, E39. 528i. I think the 530 might have been a V8. I think actually that's a inline 6 as well. So yeah, the bids will be the same for the 525i, 528, and 530i. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so when you pop the hood, what you're gonna want to do here is start removing this stuff up here because you're gonna need access to down here to do the water pump. So we're gonna take off the shroud, take off the top of the air box. We can really leave this in with the fan, but we're going to take that off as well because it gives us more access to get the clutch fan off. All right, so we're going to begin with that, and I'm also going to post the tools that you need for this job here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, remove the shroud. Now usually there's a pin here with a little tab in the top of it, similar to this one. They should all look like this, but over the years we lost some of them. So there's gonna be one here, one there, and to remove them you take a pair of pliers, or needle nose pliers, or any type of plier that you can grab the top of this. You're gonna pull that out, and then this should just lift right up. Similarly with this one, it's gonna have a tab in it. You just lift it up. There's no tab in that one, and that one as well. Okay, once you do that, you should be able to pull this piece out here. Okay, and you store that somewhere. Just gonna sit back here. And you also have this piece here that will actually come out with the air box. So, I mean, for me, I can just pull it out. There's a tab on each side. Usually you're supposed to access it through here with the flathead screwdriver and just pop that out. So yeah, you can either pull this out with this piece, you know, still in there, or not. Okay, so after that, I would remove the top of the air box. So the top of the air box, it has these little clips. Tab that one, push it down, flip it over. See, it has these little things. You just flip that up, do it like that. There's one here, just flip it up, do it like that. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And really, you don't have to take this out. I do this just to give myself some more access. Okay. And also, pop this out like that. There's another one on the other side. Pop that out like that. Okay. Then this top half should work its way right out. Okay. So at this point, with all this stuff out the way, you have a better view of what you're trying to get to. So what I would do here is remove the upper radiator hose. And usually when you park the car in a way where it's leaning, the front is a little higher than the back, like on a hill or something, it's probably the way to lose the least amount of coolant while doing this. Once you pull out the water pump, the coolant's going to come rushing out. And most people would drain the coolant, or I wouldn't say even most, some people, or the correct way would be to drain the coolant before you do this. I'm not doing that. So, okay, so I'm gonna make a little bit of a shortcut here. I'm not gonna remove the entire upper radiator hose, but the upper radiator hose has 3 clips, has one here, one there, one there. I've already popped this one back, so let me put that back just to show you. So Usually you would pop this up, pop that up, pop that up, take the whole hose out. But I don't want to remove this one completely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this part that goes into the thermostat, and I'm just going to kind of angle it out the way so I can work below here. So let me show you what I'm going to do there. So right now I'm going to pull this back, and I'm just going to stuff a rag or something here to keep all the coolant from coming out at this point. Okay, so after pulling the hose back, stuffing a rag there, so what I would do now is take a zip tie and tie the upper radiator hose around somewhere to where it's just out of the way, and you won't lose too much coolant. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so now I'm gonna show how to remove this clutch fan, which attaches to the water pump. And you can tell the water pump on this car is bad because the clutch fan wobbles, and it should not wobble at all. You see it has all this movement, and that means the bearing in the pulley is moving. You can actually see the whole pulley itself moving. So yeah, that's why we're doing this water pump. Okay, so in order to remove the clutch fan, you're gonna need clutch fan removal tools, which are these two here. You typically, if your bolt, you see the bolt right here, or this nut right here that's holding the clutch fan. This is the clutch fan. So this bolt, you're gonna have to remove that to take off the clutch fan. And to do that, you're gonna need a 32mm wrench. And sometimes you can just use the wrench and just knock it to the right really hard. But in this case, we're gonna use the actual tools. So these are clutch fan removal tools. You're gonna wanna use the slotted end. You see this two-sided part has a normal side with just two holes, and it has a slotted side with a hole and a slotted hole here. So you're gonna wanna look down here where the nut is, and you have 4 bolts that are on the pulley. So you're gonna wanna insert this slotted end on that top bolt here, and then the bottom one is gonna just guide itself into place. Let's see if we can get it. Just like that. Okay, so we're gonna get that one in place first. All right, so with the tool in place holding both of the tiny bolts that are on the pulley, you're gonna take your 32mm wrench. You're gonna put it over the nut just like that. And actually, let me flip it around to have a little bit more leverage. Now, you're going to want to turn the 32mm wrench to the right clockwise. So let me see if I can do that here. Okay, and you see what that did? It broke loose the pulley here, and as I turn it to the right, because this is a reverse threaded nut, so as I turn it to the right, it's actually getting loose. So it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. So right now we're taking off the clutch fan, and you're unthreading it, then it comes off just like that. All right, so after the clutch fan is loose in here, we're gonna wanna take out this shroud. So in order to take this out, you have a tab that's here. Just like the shroud tabs that were up here, you just pull this top part out. You have one over here. This one's actually a Torx, but it's supposed to be one of these tabs. So you just remove these two, and this should all come up. So we're gonna show you that here in a second. But what you also wanna do is take off this little connector here. Okay, you just press on that and pull it back. Then you have this plug, and these are for the accessory fan for the air condition. So whenever you turn on your AC, you have a fan that's up here that's gonna flip on. But you're just getting this out of the way so you can remove this shroud. So actually you don't have to unplug this one, this bigger one, you just move that out the way. All right, so we're gonna take these out, pull this out, and show you that. Okay, so once you remove the two push tabs, or in my case, is the Torx bolt on this side and the push tab on this side. Let's see. In some cases, a needle nose plier is easier to use here. Okay. Okay, so once you remove the hardware, just a tap that's there, this should come right up. And what you want to do is, when you're doing this, you have to grab the clutch fan so it doesn't fall, and you have to pull both of them out at the same time. Okay, so doing the water pump, after you get out the shroud and the clutch fan, now before you remove the drive belt, you have to break loose the bolts for the water pump. So it's just these 4 10mm bolts here, and once you get that out, you're going to be able to remove the pulley. So you want to break these loose first, then remove the drive belt, and then you want to take the bolts all the way out, and then the pulley will come out. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so you have the 4 bolts here. Now you see this pulley should not be moving like this. That means the bearing has gone bad. So we're just going to break loose these. So once we get the drive belt off, we can remove the pulley. Okay, so that's all 4 loosened. And now we're going to take our T50 Torx, and right here is the tensioner, as we mentioned before. We're going to put in the T50 Torx, and if you have a breaker bar, this is the time to use it. So you're going to move this to the right. You see that releases the tension, allows you to take the belt off. Okay, just like that. The belt is off. Then you can go ahead and let that go. All right. So after you take off the clutch fan, you're going to use your T50 tool again, your Torx. You're going to enter it in down here. The pulley is the same to T50 Torx for the tensioner. If I can get it in there. Let's see here. There you go. And you're going to put that clockwise, so to your right, to loosen the tension on the accessory belt. So you're going to do that, take it off just like that. Okay, so here's our drive belt. It's pretty torn up. You can see the ribs have started falling apart here, and actually it even separated in some places. So yeah, it's good that we're replacing this piece. Okay, so once you got your belts off, you can go ahead and remove the water pump pulley. Okay, so with the bolts removed, the pulley comes right out just like that. You want to inspect this, make sure it has no damage. Okay, so this is what the bearing is like when it fails. It's not supposed to do that. So yeah, that shows you that you need to replace this, because once this comes off, your whole clutch fan comes flying off, damages everything. Okay, so once you have the pulley off, now you have 1, 2, oh, it's gotten blurry, 3, 4 10mm bolts to remove before you can pull out the water pump. So we're going to remove those now. Now with these removed, you should be able to pull back the water pump. Now in some cases you can't, and there's 2 little holes here in between the fasteners. There's 2 little holes here. You can actually take these 10mm bolts that you have for the pulley, you can insert them into this hole, and they thread into there. And what you can do, as you tighten it, it will pull the water pump out. Thread these into here. So these are the pulley bolts that held the pulley in place. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna tighten them into these holes that are in between the fasteners. So there's 2 holes with nothing in it. So we're gonna tighten it, and it should pull the water pump out. Okay, so we have the old part out, and what you want to do now is go ahead and remove these, because you're going to need them, of course. You use them for the pulley. So yeah, we're going to take these back out, and here's a new water pump. We're going to go ahead and install that, and yeah, let's go ahead. Okay, so what you also want to do is make sure that this edge around here is as clean as possible. So just take like a rag or a towel or something and just, you know, wipe that clear. Okay, so when you tighten the water pump back, you want to be careful about these four. This hardware is aluminum, and you don't want to over tighten it because it can snap. So just, you know, get it snugly tight, nothing drastically tighter than what it took to loosen it, and you should be good to go. Okay, so now that the water pump is back in there, we can go ahead and we can put our pulley back on. So here's that pulley, and sit it in place, and notice that the holes in it are not equal distant, vertical versus horizontal. So there's a certain way you want to put that back on. You just line it up with whatever the water pump's doing. Yeah, then you put your hardware back on. Okay, with the hardware back on, you can't tighten these. You can thread them all the way down, but you can't tighten these until you have the belt back on. So what you want to do is first put that drive belt back on, and here's the diagram if you need it. Okay, so you want to put the drive belt on first, which is the one on the right side, before you put the accessory belt for the air compressor back, or the AC compressor. So don't let this fool you. In order to do this, you first have to snake it over the tensioner pulley here, and then you have to loop it all the way over the water pump, or it's going to be kind of hard to put that back. But you'll see what I'm talking about when you get there. But basically, it's the reversal of the removal. It's not too hard. It's just you have to really think about it for a little bit. Okay, so now that our water pump is back in here, I'm gonna take this extension off of here. Okay, so now that our belts are on, we can go ahead and tighten these, and you don't want to over tighten them. You just want to get them where they're nice and snug. Okay, so now we're gonna put the fan clutch and the fan back in with the shroud. Now you want to push this in front of here when you slide it back in place. Okay, so once you have your fan back in place, I'll show you the process to tighten that. So remember, it's lefty tighty, righty loosey. Okay, but before you do that, if you got the shroud back in place, which you should, make sure you plug everything back in. The connector for the auxiliary fan, you plug that back in, and this switch for the fan here. Okay, so after you have your clutch fan back in place, remember, lefty is tighty in this case. You're going to put your hardware back in. So you have the tab that's on this side. Just going to push that back in there, just like so. And also your one over here, tighten it. And then you want to take your 32mm wrench, place it over the nut for this, for your clutch fan. You're gonna turn it to the left to tighten. Now, some people, they also use the clutch fan tool with the 32mm wrench here, but I have another trick with the hammer. So gonna do that now and show you. Okay, so since the clutch fan is a reverse thread, and they do that so when the fan is turning, it's not loosening itself. So as the fan turns, it'll tighten itself, but you just want it to be firmly in place. So what I typically do, and some people do this to loosen the clutch fan as well, you want to hold it to where it has some space to move. Then you want to take a hammer and you want to firmly hit that just to knock it into place or make sure it's firmly into place. So what I typically do, give yourself a little bit of space and then just like that. It should be good. Okay, so just cut my zip tie. I'm gonna put the upper radiator hose back once I've completed what I need to do with the clutch fan. And if you put something in here like a rag, just to keep the coolant from flowing, you want to take that out. Do not close that in there, you'll have a lot of headache. Okay, so you want to make sure that this is tabbed open. Put it up over here. Make sure it's flush all the way in there. Then you want to close it and you should be good to go. Okay, so it's getting pretty dark out here, but we are done. So once that's closed, and what we've done is already filled it up with coolant again. Now you want to bleed this, so once you have everything back together, which we're gonna do now. Okay, now everything's back together. Shroud back on, airbox back on. Last thing you have to do is bleed it, and actually I think we're okay. It took in a lot of coolant already, but we're gonna see. We're gonna let it heat up, and then once it starts pulling in coolant into the past the thermostat, then we'll start to pour in more. So yeah, we're gonna start it up and start bleeding it. But apart from that, that concludes our installation of the water pump, and that also concludes installation of the drive belt, or a drive belt replacement if you're doing that. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next time.